It'll,
Okay, I got it.
yeah,
Okay.
so it'll all add up.
Yeah.
So it is a good question, because I find most people underestimate expenses. And then at the end of the year or the end of the month, and saying, well, I thought I was going to make $300 this month, and it was going to be going in, and you know, I made $52. You know, it's like, oh wow, whoopie ding, you know, like still made some, but yeah,
And
but it's
what I've typically seen is that people look at the mortgage to the rent, but
Yeah.
they forget property taxes.
Absolutely.
All, you know, all the other.
Yeah, and that's what we see all the time. So if you have somebody, whether it's myself looking at it or whatever, you go with 35%. So if we go in, for example, we're taking a look at an apartment building, we're writing an offer on it on St. Albert, for example, right now. And they're giving us the total rent, you know, and they're giving us their expenses. Well, I usually just throw it away anyways, but you got to take what they've given you, unless it's really, really accurate. And then just say, well, okay, listen, they're showing there's 28% expenses on this thing. There's no way. You know, they're hiding something in there. So I'll bump it up to 35%. But if it's showing 42% expenses, I'm going to say, well, gee, the place is either run down or it's in such poor condition, I'm pouring all my money back in repairs and maintenance, or can I save money? Because for every dollar you save in a particular property at 7% mortgage, you've added $170 of value to that particular property. So if I can cut down $1 on expenses, I've increased my value of my property $170. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm going in, how can I drive my expenses down and get my value up? Or how can I raise my rents to increase my value? So some people look at these little tiny incremental increases and say, well, big deal, you moved your rents 2%. Still makes a difference. And I'm looking at it long term. And don't worry about rejected offers. You know, I don't get too hung up on rejected offers. Yeah, well, I'll write them and they don't get accepted. And so it's like, okay, great. I can only make it work at this particular number, whether it's a personal residence or an investment property. It just, you know, it has to make sense. Now, I don't get down so I'm squeezing nickels and dimes. That's the other thing, I guess, maybe that would probably irritate me, is the sense that if something is of good value and we're within the price of a washer and dryer or something, if it's a personal residence or a investment property, it's just like, I'm going brain dead here. I'm trying to negotiate the last $1,000 on a $500,000 property. The percentage difference is so minimal. It's like, okay, now we've got to the ego trip here. You know, let's just cut that all out. But you know, once we're in the heat of the negotiations, it never seems to work that way. So that's step 6. So we want to make sure that our offer is going to make a return, whatever that offer plays out to be. And you need to act like an investor or a business owner. And I think a lot of the time what we see people sliding into is becoming the landlord. If you become the landlord, it takes away from you growing your business and thinking like a business owner. So that's why I encourage everybody, just get a property manager right out of the chute. Okay, but they're going to charge me 8 or 10%, Randy. Well, do you want a life, first of all? And do you want to continue doing this? You know? And even though we have property managers, we still manage the managers. But that's a lot less headache usually than managing the tenants. And you have to find a property manager that knows how to train your tenants. Because if they don't train them, they'll train it vice versa. Or if you're a brand new landlord, quote, or investor, and you don't train your tenants, they'll train you really quick with late payments and all the rest of the garbage that comes along with it. So just like anything else. Yes?
You said that you look for investments that have 7% rate of return.
Yes.
And then you're looking at spending 8 to 10% on a property manager?
Okay, but that's part of it in there. Yeah, that's already calculated in there. Yeah, you're saying, boy, this guy's crazy. He's making me lose 2% already. Present your offer in writing. Our offers, depending on what they are and depending who I'm working with as a realtor on the other side or who the investor is, if I'm going out and I'm doing multiple offers, which I might do where I'm putting out 3 or 4 offers at a particular time, I might just use what's called a letter of intent, which is a 1 or a 2-page document usually that describes in an overview how I'm preparing the offer, why I'm offering, what I'm doing. If we come to an agreement, I'll put it on a formal contract. Okay? In Calgary here, I've only found a handful of realtors that work with me. The rest of them all, excuse me, all want it on an area contract, which is great. That's no problem with that. We'll write it on an offer. Okay? Because then it's contractually, it's there. The letter of intent at the bottom says this is not a contract type of thing. But in a lot of cases, it's feeling out the other person on the other side or the company or what they're doing at that particular time. So I just threw that in there, but put it in writing rather than just being verbal. So that's week 6. The whole idea is in 2 months that a person has gone through this whole process, may have not purchased a property, but you've certainly gone through the process where you have excluded a lot only looked at the good ones, and if your money was in place and you're ready to move forward, you can move forward. So we made the offer, we used that letter of intent, and we use a cover letter to explain our offer. Now, if it's a personal residence, maybe you want to use the feel-good one here where my family just moved into town and I've got a dog and 3 kids and yada, 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 all that kind of stuff. We love your house, all this kind of stuff, especially when there's competing offers. Or if you just want to feel that, you know what, I want all of your appliances, everything that's in the house. I want the BMWs in the car, in the garage, and everything else. So, but normally you don't have to go overboard. Cover letters, do we use them on larger properties? Absolutely, because we have to show that there's some strength. When I'm on the buyer's side, I want to show that my buyer is serious and has the financial capacity to purchase the property. If I'm on the seller's side, I'm saying, well, if they didn't present me with something, I want to know something about you. And I'll ask, in a lot of cases, especially for people I don't know, and I'm dealing with that right now, there's somebody coming in from BC who says they're going to buy, and they're going to be looking at some of our properties in Regina for sale, in Saskatoon and Calgary. It's just like I sent them a letter last night. I said, you know what, here's what I need. I need some sort of a letter capacity knowing that you guys are for real. You know, we're not going to be running around looking at all these buildings all over the place and you have no money. You know, and I don't put it that bluntly, but I just want to make sure that they understand that our sellers own the building. They're just coming looking at it right now. And then finally on step 8, we're all in business. Have some of your own business cards, maybe not the tacky ones that says we buy houses on it or something like that, but if you're a real estate investor and you want to be professional and you're out there and this is looking more at residential properties and you're saying I want to do some residential stuff or even for commercial stuff, just leave a card behind or you stick it in the door and so on. If you wanted to use the we buy houses one that's kind of in your face type of thing, fantastic, you will get response. But the other way might be just you just put a business card in there. I was in the neighborhood and I'm looking to buy some investment properties. Be straight up front about it. And who knows? Buy it before the next door neighbor knows it's for sale, the realtor knows it's for sale, and they just pick up the phone and say, yeah, you dropped off 3 cards at my place, you know, over the last month or so. I'm going to give you a call back. So, and obviously, the more offers you put out there, the better chances you have for success. Okay, how am I doing on time? Right on time? Okay. So this one here falls into the action plan on how using one home creates that lifetime of income. So we're looking at residential properties and a property to me that has to be usually about less than 20 years old, preferably brand new or 5 years or less. That's what I've been trending to. So I'm selling off all my old junk is what I'm telling you. Okay, so my old houses, I got a couple of them there that were spitting out cash like crazy, but I knew that there's lots of things going to fall apart in these things. So if somebody really wanted them more than I did, they could take them. So we had one in Innisfil, Alberta. It was built in 1903. Dandy house. Spit cash out like crazy, but the next door neighbor came over and made an offer we couldn't refuse. So we let them have it. So they took it, they bought it. Great, fantastic. So we're moving to new ones. So the last 3 houses we bought have all been brand new. So I'm right at the other extreme. They all cash flow. And they just keep chugging along, and obviously the roof should be good for a while, and all the rest of it, and the mechanicals are much superior, drives down my utility costs, my insurance costs are less. So those are the things that I weigh when I'm taking a look at properties. So getting back to that first page in my book there where I talk about buying a property and just hanging on to it for 20, 30, 40 years, well, that's kind of this, you know, let it grow slowly type of thing. You know, just let it mature and hand it over to somebody. Give it away to a charity, give it away to your kids or whatever, and let them continue on using it as a stream of income type of thing. So let's take a look at buying a property. Now, philosophically, I've changed over the past 4 or 5 years on what we do with our properties. It used to be, okay, buy the property and then remortgage it and mortgage it up to the hilt again and go buy something else type of thing. And we're on the opposite train of thought here for the last year. It's been, you know what, I'm going to have this property and I'm going to get this thing paid off, and it's, you know, it's just spitting out cash. I'm just going to let the thing idle away there, and it can, if it brings in $100 less per month income than I normally can get from somebody else by pushing it right to the top of the market rents, you know what, the thing is probably running pretty hassle-free. My property managers aren't getting freaked out at it, and it stays rented all the time. And as long as they're not tearing the place apart, hallelujah, let's keep them in there. So you can rely on that steady income. It allows you to reinvest somewhere else, offset some expenses. So what we're taking a look at is in a 10-year period, ultimately, and I'll get into this here, is how you can buy properties just on the straight buy and hold rationale, the ones where you're just buying it for long-term, you know, I'm going to chug along, we're going to pay down our mortgage, we're going to, you know, make a few dollars on it, but put the money back into the property at the end of the year on a principal reduction basis, okay, which is something like the Manulife One or those types of analogies there where you're always driving the principal down year after year after year. So you're paying it not off in 25 years, you're paying it off in 13 years or something along that line. That's what we're taking a look at. Now, does everybody agree with that? No, because they're saying leverage it and buy something else. I'm on the other side of the coin saying, listen, I'd rather go out, attract the capital to me, have somebody that, you know, gives me a phone call, says, listen, I can't do anything with my money. Can you go out there and help me do something with it? And that's what we've done. We've changed our strategies totally where we're saying, you know what, let's just work with the partners we've got. We've got very good properties. We've got the low loan to value. We're going to go out and repeat that again and again and again and again. So that's kind of what we're doing. So what we're looking for right now is buying homes, and again, I'm back to residential, that are below value. Can we do this in the commercial investment side? No, because there's competition, you know, on just about all the properties. I wrote an offer on a small little mall, wasn't listed, of course, out in Cochrane, and I lost, okay, but there's competing offers on it. Our offer went in first. Another offer came in behind it, and I kind of suspected it would be better than ours, so I phoned our guy up and I said, you know what, we're going to have to bump our offer up there, Raj. Oh, no, it's going to fly, and it didn't, needless to say. So, but there's competition out there. People are willing to pay for cash-flowing properties, great building, concrete, right full, and it would stay that way in Cochrane. Hey, I love Cochrane. It's a solid little city, and it'll keep chugging along. So, but on the house side, though, again, I'm back at the shortest repayment periods for financing. I'm not looking at stretching it out for 40 years or 35 years. I'm saying, okay, can I get this thing done in 25 to 30? Because it doesn't take long for that extra $30 or $40 per month to reduce how many months, like Harold or Teresa, if I increased I buy a house for $400,000, okay? And I increase my mortgage by $100 per month, my payment. How much will it shorten it up? Is there some rule of thumb you guys have on?
Huge. I mean,
Yeah.
it is. It's, you know, I mean, you're going to automatically knock 7 years.
Exactly.
7 years off your mortgage, just right now.
Just for $100.
Yeah. And where often we'll give the advice that if you're at a variable rate, use the fixed rate
As the
mortgage
payment. Absolutely.
You know, but on your variable.
Yep.
On
Yep.
your variable rate, and
Yeah.
you'll bring that down.
Yeah. So again, you're going to hear different things from different people, and they'll say, well, Randy's full of it. You know, I'd go and, you know, mortgages to the max and squeak it all out. So maybe it's because I'm conservative air on the other side. The recession's made it easier to do. Absolutely. If I take a look at it, let's take a look at 30 years ago, before there was CNNs and all the rest of the TV shows and internet and everything else out there. When we received our news, it was in little bite-sized chunks at 6 o'clock on the television or in a newspaper or on the radio in little chunks and dribs and drabs and everything like that. Now, the way the media drives and pushes it at us, we can get filled up with the negative like 24/7, non-stop. Let's face it. CNN is out there selling advertising and all the rest of them are. They have to be able to push stuff. So don't just worry about your neighborhood. Let's go over and take a look at what's happening in Ireland and Pakistan and New Zealand and the earthquake came in. Okay. I know I need to be aware of that, but I don't have to be drowning in it. Okay? And if there's something that's one of my personal passions and I want to do something about it, great. But there is a point where you've got to watch how much media that you're taking in. So I just follow one of my mentors a long time ago. He says, Randy, he said, your programming will lead to your beliefs. Your beliefs will lead to your emotions will lead to your actions. And your actions, including the speech that comes out of your mouth, will determine your results. So he says, watch how you're programming yourself. So absolutely, stay away from TV as much as you can and all the rest of it. Okay, so the market is going to rebound. We can't guarantee that, but if we take a look at what's happening in Alberta right now, unless oil falls off the planet, the use here, I think we're going to be okay. Okay, so now we've got to go back and find the right tenants. The tenant pool, has it increased? Absolutely. Because the market has tightened up, we have more tenants out there. Not like the US has right now, but if we take a look at globally, the percentage, depending on the numbers you read, is anywhere from about 79% to about 84% of the entire population in the world is a tenant to somebody. Very few landowners and property owners. And if you back it way up, it hasn't been that long in Canada and North America and the industrialized societies that we've had mass home ownership. It's only because of the financial tools and instruments that have come there that you've been able to buy a car on payments and a house on payments or whatever it else is on a payment. Otherwise, it was cash. You know, you had to go and pay cash for the land. You had to go and pay cash to build that particular property. So you had the wealthy landowners, you know, so we had the serfs and the lords. But again, so in Canada, yeah, we've got what, 65, 66% of the people own a home. So our numbers are way, way less than the worldwide average. But still, you got to screen for good tenants. We've had to lower our, I'll give you an example. We're renting one of our properties in High River. $13.45 is what I had it advertised at. Mediocre results. Changed the rental to $12.95. And we've had 4 calls the first day, and I've got 2 emailed before I left home. And that's in 1 day. So for $50 difference, I can fill the place right away rather than trying to squeak out an extra $50 and have it vacant for another month while I'm trying to find this tenant that's going to come up with $13.45. Otherwise, hey, I'll get $12.95. I can screen them still. So I've lowered my price, but I haven't lowered my standards. And that's one of the keys that we look at. Consider renting to government or corporations. Absolutely. If you can find a government agency that's like ours, is they're going to come in and they're going to be buying 123 of the units we're building, and I've got a private syndication from Malaysia that's buying the other